we doing, everybody? And welcome in to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It is Tuesday, June 18th, a fantastic Tuesday, June 18th. A lot of, crazy weather moved through the area yesterday there. We saw, where I was, central Wisconsin, actually, I should post a video out there. We saw, out there working, we were in a field. We were out in a field, putting up a pole, a random barn out in the middle of a field. And we see some clouds rotating above us. And we're like, didn't really, we're watching it. And we're like, it's a little big yet. I don't know if it's, going to form into anything crazy like a tornado right there. Ended up moved off a little bit. We did get 50 to 60 mile per hour winds right where we were. So that was a little interesting when you're sitting out in the middle of nowhere, like no cover, nothing like that, except for your van or, whatever your work vehicle is there. But we watched it rotate there, ended up going a little bit further and ended up touching down. So there was a confirmed tornado in central Wisconsin. So a very long day for myself out there doing some storm repairs, everything like that. It's going to be a long week. They're talking a lot of rain coming through the area now. It looks like rain for the rest of the week. So fantastic, right? Fantastic. Can't beat it. Can't beat the lovely rain we keep getting, but crazy weather all the way around. And if you're listening out there, I hope that the storm didn't hit you hard. Right, I'm hoping that everything is A-okay on your end. Power gets restored. I know a lot of people were without power. I'm hoping power gets restored everywhere here relatively soon, and everybody is able to get everything functioning again. Just a hectic, crazy couple of months for severe weather in the state of Wisconsin and elsewhere, wherever you're listening. It's been crazy across the United States, and they're talking about it could get crazier. And I'm hoping it doesn't, right? But you got to be prepared, right? So prayers out to anybody who is affected, and hopefully everybody is getting back and powered up and everybody is safe out there. So with that, getting off of the weather, because that's a downer, right? That's a downer. We got to get to it. I want to get to an upper, but I don't know if this is an upper for some people out there. The Boston Celtics are now your NBA champions. They defeated the Dallas Mavericks last night there in, blowout fashion, basically. That game was never relatively close in that one. And like we've talked about it. The Celtics just proved in this series here that the Mavs weren't a team that could match up with them, right? I honestly do think if it was the Nuggets and the Celtics, I think it's a different series. I really do. If it's, a team like the Timberwolves against the Celtics, even I would venture to go as far as the Thunder. And I'm not saying the Mavs didn't beat some of these teams to get to the NBA Finals. The Mavs played a fantastic playoffs. They played fantastic in the regular season. They played fantastic in the playoffs. I'm not going to say that the Mavs weren't a solid team. But matchup-wise, the Celtics proved that they were a problem for the Mavs. The Mavs were they weren't as athletic as what, this Celtics team was, and 1 through 5, right? And this is a team that can spread you out 1 through 5, and they can all hit shots. They can all bury threes. Porzingis was coming off the bench there in Game 5. Not completely healthy, but Al Horford is still a great, number 6 man who ended up filling in at times during the starting rotation. Pritchard had some good games. Sam Hauser was playing good in stretches. This Celtics team had a lot of firepower to mess with, and the Mavs just didn't have enough. They did not have enough to be able to deal with it, and we saw it. We saw it in a majority of this series here. It was, relatively like watching the Bucks and the Indiana Pacers, right? You watch that series. It was, the Bucks weren't on the same level as what the Pacers were, right? And that had a lot to do with no Giannis, no Dame in that series for, parts of it. But, looking at these two teams, the Mavs were relatively healthy, but they just didn't have it. They didn't have the firepower. They didn't have the ability to hang. Shots had to be falling completely for the Mavs, and they'd have to win a slugfest if they were going to beat this Celtics team. Unless the Celtics got off, right? That's what happened in Game 4. Game 5, they bounced back. Right, they bounced back there. So Celtics are your 2023, 2024, whatever you want to call it, NBA champions. That's what we know. right? They win in blow-up fashion, and now the NBA season comes to a wrap, and now we move into NBA offseason, NBA free agency. Everything like that is going to be firing up there. And, I mean, we look back at this season, and we look back at this season for the Milwaukee Bucks, and was it a season that the Bucks expected? No. I wouldn't even say in the slightest. I mean, you look at this Bucks team to finish it up there. They ended up 49-33. Now, that's not a bad record, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that the Bucks had a bad record by any means. 49-33, solid. A solid record. But you look at the standard that the Bucks were put into, right? And it wasn't self-inflicted, right? People just put them up to this level because when you go out and you acquire a guy like Damian Lillard, right? And you let Drew Holiday gone and Grayson Allen gone, and now you have Dame, you have Giannis, you have this big duo, right? Nowadays in the NBA, it's about duos, right? Jamal Murray and Jokic, and Tatum and Brown, and Luka and Kyrie. You could go through, LeBron and AD, right? You go through the league and you find duos, right? Those are your two main cogs. It's not the big three anymore. It was the big three for a while. Now it's duos, right? So you got this dynamic duo between Dame and Giannis, right? This was supposed to be fantastic. And it never really, I don't think it ever got to a great point, right? And, Dame talks about it and he says, well, I didn't do a lot of off-season workouts because he knew he was going to be traded. Okay. That's a reason behind maybe why Dame wasn't completely himself throughout the season there. Middleton was relatively not healthy throughout the season, right? You never had, if you really want to put it into a big three, you never really had the big three out there for a majority of the season, right? To get this thing really going. So then when it came to big games, okay, yeah, the big three's back, but they haven't played with each other. It really seemed like watching this team throughout the year, Damian Lillard was trying to find his role. Was he team leader? Was he not team leader? Giannis trying to find his role. Oh, it's Dame's the captain. No, I am. No. Who is it? And then Middleton's just kind of trying to find his place along those two. And I thought, to me, watching those three go at it, it was like, I don't know if these guys know what their role truthfully is on this team. And, an offseason might fix that, right? You get these guys together. Now you have a head coach you put it into perspective. You switch head coaches halfway through the season. That's rough. That's rough on a team. So to see the Bucks finish how they did maybe was a letdown, but at the same time, you're talking about, okay, well, you got injury riddled down the stretch, and now you're trying to make role players be some of your main cogs in your offense. Well, they weren't even main cogs in the offense when they were role players. How are they going to do it now, right? And they could never figure it out in that aspect. You did add a guy like Patrick Beverley, which did spice the defense up a little bit, brought a little bit of leadership into that locker room, but at the same time, didn't get you better offensively, right? Didn't get you better offensively. The bench wasn't used a lot for the Bucks. That was a lot of, I don't know if it was Doc not trusting his guys yet or what really led to that, but we didn't see any of the bench usage that maybe some people wanted to see. I wanted to see some of these younger guys a little bit more, like Ajax. I thought he's a dynamic player, right? He might not have the offensive skill set that you might be looking for, but defensively he's great. Rebounding, he's great. And offensively, he can bring it. We saw it at UConn. We saw it in stretches for the Bucks there. He can bring it. So it's not like that's not a guy who could be something for you. But in some of these games, it was like, why are we not seeing some of these guys? When they have long athletic teams like the Pacers, right? Ajax would have been a prime guy to put in there. And if you just needed defense, he was a guy. So, putting it into perspective, the Bucks season, was it a letdown for what we expected out of them? Yeah, 100%. I can say that. Now, is it time to throw in the towel on it? No. I think you go into this offseason, maybe you move pieces around. Like, you keep Dame, you keep Giannis. I would honestly keep Middleton if I was the Bucks. Brook Lopez is expendable to me. I don't know if anybody out there is going to take that contract, but I would get him off the books if I could. And I would try to go younger or more athletic at the big man position there. And I'm not looking for a guy who can spread it out all the time there on the offensive end. I'm looking for a ground and pound guy. I'm looking for a guy who's going to rebound the basketball, who's going to be tough in the paint. I don't want to say like an Andre Drummond, but even a guy like Andre Drummond to come off the bench, to be that big force. You need a enforcer at times in the post area, somebody who can defend. And Brook Lopez wasn't that guy. He's getting a little bit slower, right? So even if you bring Brook Lopez back, I'd still like to see the Bucks try to expand in that aspect there and find a young athletic big man that they can implement in there. I love what the Mavs did with Gafford and Lively in there. I thought Lively played fantastic for him at times, but I mean, he's a big body who can get around, he defends well, and he rebounds the basketball for you. And he is a high flyer, so I want to see the Bucks try to make a move like that. And I'd be good. I mean, you look at the draft here, you have Kalel Ware in there out of Indiana, originally with Oregon. Now was with Indiana this last year. There's, a couple of bigs in there. I don't know about Zach Edey. To me personally, I'm not touching him with a 30-foot pole, but I know a lot of people might, be in on Zach Edey. I'm not, right? His style of play would fit that of a big that can spread out an offense. He can't spread out a defense, right? He's a post player. That's what he is. Maybe he develops a little bit of an outside shot. I'm not going to say that he won't, right? Some people like Zach Edey out there, but to me, it's, are you willing to sacrifice some of that outside perimeter shooting or that ability to shoot the three for just a longer, taller big? He's not athletic. He's not fast, right? Zach Edey isn't fast. So if you're looking for my guy that I look at, if I was going to make a trade and I was looking out towards like the Warriors, I would ask about Trayce Jackson-Davis, because I think Trayce Jackson-Davis could be a fantastic. He's not your traditional 7-footer. I believe he's only like 6'10", but Trayce Jackson-Davis is a long, lanky guy who can get after you, and the dude can jump out of a gym. I could see a guy like Trayce Jackson-Davis fitting in with the Bucks, fitting in with that rotation a little bit there. I mean, you have Giannis in there. You have Bobby. I would keep Bobby around. I'm not getting rid of Bobby. I'm keeping Bobby around there. I know I've seen people who talk about trading Bobby Portis away. I wouldn't do it. I think Bobby's a glue guy. I really do. He's got a temper, right? We saw that against the Pacers. Now, am I going to say that the Pacers are completely clean in those situations? Not a chance. Not a chance am I going to say that, because, honestly, watching that series, watching that Pacers team play, that's a team that if you wanted to punch a team in the mouth, right, that would be a team right there, because that's just how they play. And, some teams play like that. They try to get underneath your skin. Some players are like that. They try to get underneath your skin. I get it. I'm not going to say that you can't, be that type of player, but, Bobby's that guy for the Bucks. He's a guy who gets a little hot, but can get a little hot there shooting the basketball too. And he's a glue guy, and I'm not trying to trade away glue guys off this roster right now. And he adds a dynamic threat off the bench for you. He's, developed a lot defensively, and offensively, he is a fantastic player. So, I'm not moving Bobby. Beasley, I would let go. I was hit or miss on Beasley. Beasley's a guy who can shoot in stretches, right? He can shoot in stretches. So if you don't get rid of Beasley, I'm looking for I'm bringing Beasley off the bench. I'll be honest with you. I'm not keeping him as a starter in this rotation. I'm looking for a guy to take his spot as a starter. And I'm bringing Beasley off the bench. That would be okay with me, right? I don't want to rely on Beasley to be my everyday number 2 guard in my rotation. But if he comes off the bench, I'd be okay with it. He's a guy who can shoot. He can be a streaky shooter, but if he's on, right? So that would be the way I'd bring him back. Gallinari, I'm letting him walk, unless if the Bucks see him for cheap. We never really saw Gallinari. And in stretches, he played some, decent basketball for the Bucks. Offensively, he was hitting shots, right? But we didn't see him for, much of it. So Gallinari's a guy, if you can get him back for cheap, maybe. But otherwise, I'm letting him walk out the door. I don't know how young the Bucks can get. Will there be trade partners out there? Yeah, I could see the Warriors being a team that might look to trade some guys away, right? Maybe you go and talk to them. Maybe a guy like Kevon Looney is available from the Warriors. I don't know. Maybe talk to the Warriors. Maybe they get on the horn with them and see, hey, maybe Kevon Looney, maybe a guy like Moody, right? Looney Moody. Maybe you get them two in a package deal. You trade away a couple guys out there, try to get some pieces back in return. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where the Bucks will lean in this offseason. I just know where, I see it. And that is this Bucks team lacked a little bit of athleticism this last season. And part of that being Giannis was out in that Pacer series, right? But they could still, there's always room to improve a roster, right? And I think the Bucks could do it internally with some pieces, but I feel like they got to go out of house and try and add some pieces. So add some shooting to this roster. Add maybe a number 2 guard if you don't trust one of these other guys to be that guy. Add a number 2 guard to try to fill in there and just see what you can find. Just see what you can find out there. So, that's where I kind of stand, heading into the offseason here for the Bucks. We're going to get more into the Bucks as the offseason starts to kick off here, as we get into contracts and everything like that, because I believe it opens up a day after the finals is done or that next day. So it's going to be opening up here pretty soon. So where do we see some of these bigger names heading? And then that's going to kind of trickle down to what are the Bucks going to be able to do? Because you can't imagine the Bucks are going to be in on some of these big name guys, right? We already have some money stuck up into Giannis. We have money into Damian Lillard. We have money into Brook. We have money into Middleton. So where do the Bucks lean now? That's going to be a good question. And something to see there with this Milwaukee Bucks team as we head in the offseason, and we're going to cover it. We're going to be right here all the way. We might get into a little bit of offseason free agency talk, everything like that. So with that, that's about all I have on the Bucks front. On the NBA front, like I said, Celtics are your NBA champions of the 2023-2024 season there. But with that, I want to get to the sponsors of the show here real quick, the ones who make it happen. And that, starting off, I got Game Day Supply on Alaska. Do you have a sports club or team? Are you looking for some sweet custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply in Alaska to help your team get the sweetest gear. Find them on Facebook at Game Day Supply or online at GameDaySupply.net. Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. If you've been injured recently, whether it was at work, whether it was playing, men's league softball, or maybe you were just pushing the lawnmower, getting out of bed and you felt something pop and you need some physical therapy, stop in there and see Chad at Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. He will get you right. He'll get you back to work, back out on the court, back wherever you got injured. He'll get you back there and feeling better than ever. Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. Sports scenes, sports cards, and memorabilia located in the Marshfield Mall in Marshfield, Wisconsin. You got to get in there and see Al. He has everything you need, from sporting cards to memorabilia, jerseys, model stock cars. He's got it all. Sports scene in Marshfield, Wisconsin there. Marshfield Motor Speedways, located just 3 miles outside of Marshfield on County Road H. You got to get down there this summer. Tons of family fun for all ages. Great food, great drinks, great atmosphere. Nothing better for a family. Get out of the house. We got to go watch some racing. Get down to the track there. Marshfield Motor Speedways in Marshfield, Wisconsin. Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in and see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville, Wisconsin. And also your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty. Call Peggy, Sue, or Anna to find your dream home, or if you're looking to sell. Find them on Facebook at your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty, or stop in and see them at their location in Marshfield. But with that, I want to get to the MLB right now. I want to look at a little bit of Brewer talk. Now, as you guys know, I record this day before. You guys, if you've listened for long enough, you know that out there. And so usually I like to stay up late enough that I can get the Brewers and talk about the Brewers game from the day before and everything like that. Well, currently, as I'm shooting this, it's 10:30 at night. I tried to stay up for it, but long day, like I said, as I was telling you guys way earlier, long day at the job, and then we have, it's going to be most likely a long day tomorrow, and who knows, what the rest of the week's going to bring there for work and everything like that. So, tiring day. Had to get on the show here. Didn't want to miss out talking sports for the night. Didn't want you guys to miss out on a day, right? Didn't want you to miss out on a day of listening to the sweet voice, right? So just jokes, right? So with that, I don't want to talk about the game last night, but I want to talk about something that I've been seeing and hearing a lot of people talk about out there. And that is, I mean, the number one question. And that is why people see the Brewers and they believe that the Brewers need to add pieces, right? I mean, you look at this Brewers team and you say to yourself, okay, why are so many people out there like, man, oh man, this Brewers team, they need to add pitching, or they need to add this, or they need to add that. Why are people saying that when this Brewers team currently sits and resides at the top of the division? They are one of the best teams in baseball. Why are people sitting there and they're like, well, if they don't add this or they don't add this, the Cardinals, the Cubs, everybody else, they're right behind them. They're going to catch them, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, I heard a lot of arguments today where I was like, listening to some talk shows and some podcasts and everything like that, and listening to them talk, and they were talking about the same subject. And, a lot of people were texting in or whatever it was and, saying that I believe they need to add this and everything like that. And, some of the hosts were freaking out. They're like, well, why do they need to add this? Why do they need to do that? Because, you look at this team right now and they're currently sitting in, first place in the division, and they're, sitting in third in all of the NL, behind the Phillies and Dodgers. They have the third best record in the NL and da-da-da-da, right? So I was sitting there and I'm like, why would I, if I was in that, position, why would I be looking to add pitching or offense or anything like that? Why would I be looking to do that? Well, number one, why I'd be okay looking at pitching right now. Because when you get to the trade deadline, and you're looking at pitchers out there, right? I mean, you're talking about some of the hotter names out there in baseball right now. We're talking about guys from the White Sox. Fetty's out there, and I believe the other one I was looking at was Crochet. He's also out there, both pitching pretty well this year for the White Sox. And I mean, you look at other guys, Jesus Luzardo from the Marlins there, and Tanner Scott's a bullpen guy, but Luis Severino, Sean Mena. I mean, you're looking across the Mets there, Jack Flaherty from the Tigers. So why would people be so, bent out of shape that they need to add these guys? And why would I? Why would I be looking that way? Well, my number one reason would be, excuse me there, the closer and closer you get to, let's just say, the trade deadline, right? Asking prices will be a little bit higher, right? And more teams will be involved, okay? So if you're the White Sox, right, and you have Fetty, you have Crochet, you have a lot of teams calling. The Brewers are calling. The Yankees are calling. The Dodgers are calling. Just looking around, the Cardinals, I'm just naming off teams. Cardinals, Mariners, everybody's calling, right? What goes to the asking price then? Because if you got 8 teams on hold right now and a 9th team calls, what are you going to ask the 19th for? Right? That 9th team that calls in, 9th team that calls in there. What are you asking them for? Because you're not going to say, well, the 8 clubs before you offered me this, so I'm going to ask for just the same, right? Just the same, equivalent across the board. No, the asking price is going to go higher and higher, right? And then you're going to say, oh, okay, Yankees, you'll offer me a couple top prospects and let's just say a pretty good shortstop and pitcher or whatever, right? And you're like, oh, okay, well, hold on a second, right? So let me ponder it, right? Put them on hold. Now you get on the phone with the Dodgers. And the Dodgers, you're like, well, the Yankees are offering me this. So the Dodgers are going to either say, that's too much, we're out. Or the Dodgers are going to say, well, we have this. We can get you this, right? And then, you're looking through prospects. You're looking at names of guys and positional needs and everything like that. And you're trying to see what you can get, out of, what this prospect looks like and everything like that. I'm not saying that you're not going to potentially jump on a trade of maybe less, but 2 very good prospects or whatever it is. I'm not going to say you're not going to jump on that, but at the same time, you're looking at it like, okay, who can I get the most from, right? So the closer and closer you get to the trade deadline, the closer and closer you get to not being able to grab that guy. So why would I be okay with the Brewers looking right now? Because I do believe that down the stretch, they could use a starting pitcher, right? And I'm not saying that they can't find ways to win ball games with what they have now, because they could. I mean, you look at this roster, you look at the lineup. The lineup's been hitting. The pitching staff has been A-okay, right? They haven't been dominant, but they've been A-okay, getting the job done, right? But what happens? I take the Phillies series for a prime example. A lot of pitchers duels, right? And the Brewers were in those pitchers duels. I'm not going to give the offense slack and say the offense couldn't have added a couple of runs here and there. But when I look at that series, I say to myself, okay, the Brewers, if they get into a pitchers duel, do they have the guys that can win a pitcher's duel, right? Bryce Wilson's a solid pitcher, but he's not fantastic. He's not great, right? Freddie has not pitched well in his last couple of innings. Can he be good? Yes, Freddie can be good. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Freddie could be an ace of a staff if he can avoid the blow-up innings. He has a blow-up inning, it seems like, every outing. Whether it's 1, 2, 3 runs, he's going to have a blow-up inning. When dam breaks, the whole thing breaks open for one inning, and then it seems like he finds a way to patch it as he goes. So I'm not going to say that Freddie couldn't be a solid pitcher, but right now it's the unknowns throughout the pitching rotation, right? What does Junis give you when he finally comes back? What do you get out of some of these rookies? What are we going to get out of Taylor Clark? Right? I mean, looking up and down the rotation, it's like, okay, you got some solid arms, but they're not fantastic, right? And I truthfully don't believe, honestly, I just want people to ask themselves the truth and be told question right now, okay? If we're in a do-or-die Game 7, right, do-or-die Game 7, do you fully trust anyone in this rotation to take the baseball for you and go and win it, right? If you're facing the Phillies, let's just say the Phillies, NLCS, you get to the NLCS, you're facing the Phillies, you're in Game 7, you're playing in Philadelphia because looking at the record right now, they're playing phenomenal baseball. It's going to be tough to dethrone a team like that. Maybe they do drop off. It could happen. But, I mean, let's just say you make it to Game 7. Is there somebody in this rotation that you fully trust you can throw out there and they're going to pitch you one of those games, right? Like a Burns. And I know Burns had his struggles. I'm not going to say Burns didn't have his struggles, right? And I'm not going to say that some ace pitchers won't have games like that. But would you rather in a Game 7 have a guy like, let's just say, Crochet or Fetty, the way that those guys have been pitching for the White Sox this year? Let's just say one of those guys. Would you want to have one of those guys on the mound, or would you say Freddie, right? Or, I mean, you're in a game, you say game before, Game 6 was a do or die, and now you force Game 7. Okay, Freddie might have pitched Game 6 now. He's out the door, right? You don't have Freddie. So now you're in a do or die game with who? Colin Ray, right? And Colin Ray has pitched well. But is Colin Ray that guy that you can throw into one of those kind of games and say, go get me outs? Go win this ball game. Go up against Zach Wheeler and make it happen. Right? And maybe he does. But would I be opposed to adding a guy like, let's just go with right away, Crochet from the White Sox there? Would I be opposed to adding a piece like that? Not a chance. If you can get some of these guys at the right asking price right now, or whatever the White Sox would want, right? I mean, you might have to trade away a couple of prospects, whatever it is. But you're talking about a guy in Crochet right now who is throwing 82 innings of baseball to a 3.16 ERA. Fetty, a 3.09 ERA for him there. I mean, they have two guys atop that rotation have been fantastic so far. And, I mean, now, would you take a shot on Michael Soroka? I don't know. Soroka, he's struggled this year, 60 innings there. He's had a struggling ERA, but we know what Soroka can do. Maybe the Brewers come and they fix a guy like Soroka. That could be a cheaper option for the Brewers. I mean, something that might be more up their alley than trying to trade away the farm. But you look at the amount of prospects that they have in the outfield position and everything like that. Could you afford to make a move like that? Possibly, right? And so would I be opposed to the Brewers making a move? No, not at all. If it's a move that makes sense, that's going to benefit the ball club, and if you do it at any time, okay. Now, am I one of those people that's going to say jump on the bandwagon and trade away Willy Adames? I just don't think you can. Willie Adames, if he's going to leave, I feel like it's got to be throughout free agency. I feel like it's got to be the Brewers could not offer him enough for him to stay. Because I just got that bad feeling that we watched the same movie play out with Josh Hader. And we watched Josh Hader leave, and the clubhouse kind of just exploded, right? We started losing games. We were right there in the race at the break there, and all of a sudden we just crumbled. So would I do something like that? Probably not. Probably not. But would I look out there and see what teams are offering? The Brewers are always looking, right? I'm not saying that they're never, that they just stop looking because it's like, oh, this don't need this guy, don't need that guy. Let's stop looking. They're always looking. They're always trying to make a deal wherever they can. But I feel like, having depth would not be a bad thing for the Brewers. Having depth in this rotation wouldn't be a bad thing. Right now, that depth is spread really thin. It's really thin. I mean, Carlos Rodriguez pitched last night there for the Brewers against the Angels. Gasser's on the shelf. Who knows with Junis what you're going to get out of him. And, I mean, outside of that, Wade Miley's out for the year. You're not getting Woodruff back. That's a big blow. It's Woody. If Woody was out there, I feel like you'd be a lot more confident with the rotation. I mean, outside of that, you're looking up and down the rotation. You're like, who do I have, right? Tobias Myers. You have Carlos Rodriguez. You have Bryce Wilson. You have Colin Ray, and you have Freddie, right? On paper, probably doesn't look as good as what we've seen, but I feel like there's room. There's room for improvement. There's room that you can add guys, right? And you can add some depth, add some experience in there that could benefit you down the stretch. Now, am I going out and adding a bat? I've seen a lot of people talking like Pete Alonso and adding bats like that. Am I in the position to add a bat? I don't think so. I don't think I need a bat, right? Because, Yelich always seems to get hot when it comes towards, like, July. He always seems to heat up. Contreras has been solid. I feel like Reese is going to start turning something on because Reese is in a contract year, if you really think about it. So I feel like Reese is going to start turning on. Sal has been hit or miss, but he has been, consistent. He's been consistently hitting the ball, right? Sal has got a pretty decent batting average, if I am not mistaken. I was just going to check in on that there. But Sal has been a pretty solid 258 right now. Sal Frelick's hitting for the Brewers. And over the last 7, you're talking a 250 average. Over the last 15, 273. Perkins has played very well for the Brewers, 244 average. But, you look at the last 15 games, they're 255. Last 7, a little bit of a struggle, 143. But he's a streaky guy. You give and take with a guy like Perkins there. Could you add a bat? Sure. Could you? But I don't think it's top priority. I'm looking at the bullpen. I'm hoping Devin Williams comes back and he gets back to normal. But outside of that, I'm looking at the bullpen. I'm looking at the starters, and I'm saying, hey, I could add pieces in here, and it would, I believe, benefit us with the right moves. So there's a lot of guys out there. Like I said, you have guys like Eric Fetty. You have Garrett Crochet. You have Severino's out there. Flaherty's out there. Looking at starters, Tyler Anderson has pitched very well for the Angels this season, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I was just going to go check out his stats there. But Anderson has pitched well for the Brewers, or for the Angels there. Maybe a guy like Anderson's a guy you take a shot on. Now, would it solve all the problems? Maybe not, but 2.58 ERA right now. Anderson has there in 14 games. He's 6-6, 87 innings, 58 strikeouts. He's been pitching well. Could Anderson be a guy that the Brewers look at there from the Angels? And then you look at the bullpen. You have guys like, if you want real hardcore experience, you have a guy like Kenley Jansen out there with the Red Sox. You have Tanner Scott there with the Marlins. So there's a lot of, parts and bits and pieces that you could look at there. Dylan Floro. There's pieces that you could look at bullpen-wise, too, that might add some depth out there. I mean, the bullpen, Paguero has turned it around. Payamps is pitching a lot better than what he started the year at. At starting the year, Payamps made me nervous that maybe it was a fluke kind of thing with Payamps, that he wasn't going to stay at that same level, at that same consistency there as the season went on. But you look at Payamps there on the season right now, he's sitting with a 3.24 ERA, 24 innings pitched there. In his last 3 outings, he hasn't given up a run. He's given up 2 hits in total. That was against the Reds. Outside of that, I mean, no hits against the Blue Jays, no hits against the Tigers, 2 strikeouts against the Tigers, 1 against Toronto, 1 against the Reds. He's pitched very well. He's got his ERA down a lot. So does Paguero, down to 2.76. I mean, Paguero's last 3 outings there gave up runs against the Phillies there. He gave up 1 run there on 1 hit. Outside of that, though, Toronto, an inning and a third, 1 hit, zeros. Against the Angels last night, an inning and a third, zeros across the board. So Paguero has pitched well for him out of the bullpen. Jared Canning has pitched well. There's a lot of good pieces out in the bullpen for the Brewers. I'm just saying, you look at pieces that you can add. I think the bullpen can always use depth. I think the starting rotation could definitely use some depth there. Hitting-wise, if the right guy's out there, maybe you get him in a package deal. I could see something like that maybe work. Outside of that, I'm not as worried about the hitting side of it there. So that's my opinion right now, looking at the everybody talking about the Brewers making moves and everything like that. But last and not least there, the All-Star Game voting. We see Yelich is currently leading. He's leading in a center field there for the All-Star Game, leading for one of the outfield spots at this very moment. And outside of that, we're seeing Contreras also getting a little bit of love there. He's down in the catcher spot right now for the NL. But outside of that, no love. No love for the Brewers there. And, kind of surprising to me. Just because I know there's a lot of bigger names out there, but Luis Arias is leading the second base voting right now. And I don't know. To me, and maybe it's just me. But to me, I am a Bryce Terang biased guy, and I'm going to stick to it. But Bryce Terang has had a fantastic year. Arias is fantastic also. I mean, he's got that average at 341. But to see Terang not even I didn't even see him on the list of guys that they were voting for. I was just going to look at that over again. Second base, we don't even see Bryce Terang. Luis Arias leads it, followed by Ketel Marte, then Bryson Stott, then Ozzie Albies, then Gavin Lux for the Dodgers there. No Bryce Terang. Has played fantastic. Third base, we do see Joey Ortiz, but he's behind Manny Machado and he's behind Alec Bohm. Machado's hitting 249 on the year. 249 with 6 home runs. 249 with 6 home runs. Let's go take a look at our boy over there, Joey Ortiz, and see where Joey Ortiz currently resides for the Brewers. Right now, 6 home runs, so he matches Machado home run-wise. Average 277, 27 RBIs right now compared to what Machado's 33 right now. 4 stolen bases for him, an 845 OPS right now. That's in comparison to Machado's 672 OPS right now. So, I mean, I get it's a popularity contest. I mean, we watched the year where it was all Royals on the roster outside of Mike Trout. There was 8 Royals and Mike Trout out there. So I get it's a popularity contest at some points there. But sometimes you just wish that it came down to who is hitting the best. Who is by far the best hitter in at this position, and where are they going to reside on the field then? That's one of those things where you almost wish he was in that spot there, because I mean, Tatis 273 out there in the outfield right now, and they also have Profar out there, but I believe Profar is still hitting 321. Yes, he is. 321 with 10 home runs. So you can't even knock him being on the roster there. Willy Adames, currently Mookie Betts leads the way at shortstop. He's got the hand injury. Maybe that changes it a little bit, but at the same time, I'm as a Brewer biased, I'd like to see Terang and Ortiz get in there, but I really do believe Ortiz should be ahead of what we see Manny Machado there in fan voting. If fans watched it, they'd be big fans of Joey Ortiz, because that is a fantastic player all the way around there. But with that, that's about all I got for today. I mean, we found an episode, right? I told you at the beginning it might be a little bit shorter. We just kept on rambling. We just kept on going, talking about it all, talking about Brewers, NBA Finals. I just saw that leading into this next season here, the Celtics are plus 280 to repeat, followed by the Nuggets at plus 650 and the Timberwolves at plus 800 there to win the NBA Finals next year. I was just pulling it up to try and see where the Bucks are currently sitting right now. The Bucks are plus 1,000. They're actually ranked in the 5th spot. They're tied with the Mavericks and the Thunder there in that 5th spot there. So quite interesting. The Bucks in that 5th spot behind the Celtics, Nuggets, Timberwolves, Mavericks, Bucks, and Thunder. All in that spot. Knicks, 76ers, Clippers, Warriors, Cavs. Those are all in that top half there. I mean, way too early. Way too early betting odds. You never know what's going to happen in the NBA offseason there. But with that, that's about all I got for today. Thank you guys for listening. This has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. But until I talk to you guys again tomorrow, deuces.
Yeah, oh my Lord, watch me sway. Darkness falls and we all pray, hoping for the light of day. Down to the river I have held the devil's hand, felt the weight of my own sin, burdened by the